Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the wheel covers, or the wheel pants, or the wheel shrouds, or nacelles, whatever you guys want to call them. These things, the things that are covering the wheels, um, and why are they covered? It's because that the rotating action of the wheels is one of the most aerodynamically bad things for the vehicle. An uncovered wheel kills the aerodynamics of this thing. So you have to cover them and improve the airflow around the rotating mass. So they put these wheel covers on them. And to get the maximum aerodynamic efficiency, you want these wheel pants like basically on the ground. Of course, if they're on the ground, they'll be scraping on everything, and that doesn't work. When we measured them on the Gamma, they were 3.5 inches off the ground, which many people are saying that's too low. It's going to get destroyed. Um, and that may be true depending on your use case scenario. The wheel pants, as Charles mentioned, are made with these EVA foam in the front and the back to allow a change in approach and departure angles of the wheel pants. And judging from the comments, it looks like there's two groups of people. There's one group of people that understand that this is a single unit. The wheel pants and the wheels move as a single unit, and the suspension and the control arms are here, and this whole thing moves up and down. The wheel does not move inside the wheel pants. And there's another group of people that feel like the wheels move inside the wheel pants. They move up and down within the wheel pants. That's not true. The thing moves as a unit. So the confusion is because the wheel wells of a normal car, the wheels move inside the wheel well. So watch this. This is a video of a stripped down car hitting a giant pothole. So if you look at this, you see this wheel, it's down, and as it hits this pothole, it moves up. So look in here, look at the space between the top of the wheel in here. So it's huge, and then it's less. So the wheel moves within the wheel well, up and down. That is not the case in the Aptera. In the Aptera, the distance between the top of the wheel well and the wheel stays exactly the same because the whole thing moves up and down as one unit as the suspension works. Now, what this means and what people are concerned about are mainly two things with the wheel well. They're afraid of the wheel wells getting caught in potholes or other road debris, and they're worried about this kind of stuff building up in there and not being able to clean it and causing a major problem. So let's talk about the potholes first. Now, this is a pretty big pothole, and I understand that so potholes are much more common in parts of the country where there's a lot of rain and water and where there's freeze thaw cycles. So what happens is you have asphalt, cracks develop, water seeps down in between these cracks when it rains, and as cars drive over them, over these cracks, it pushes the water into the subsurface, and then the subsurface gets hollowed out, and then the asphalt collapses into it, and then you get a pothole. Once you get a pothole, more water forms in here, the potholes get bigger. And so areas that have freeze thaw cycles and lots of water will tend to have lots of potholes. And I think the water is more important than the freeze thaw cycles actually. I currently live in Southern California where there isn't that much water and there definitely isn't freeze thaw cycles. Potholes are fairly rare. I mean, they do exist, but there's not very many of them. But I have lived in Illinois and Chicago, Illinois, and Michigan near the lake, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for many years. So it's not like I'm unfamiliar with snow and cold conditions and lots of rain. Um, but I have to say that in all the time I lived there, I've never hit a pothole this big. And that's a pretty big pothole. I'm sure some of you guys have definitely hit these potholes this big or maybe bigger. This pothole, I'm gonna guess by looking at it, it's about 3 inches deep. And so if an Aptera currently were to hit this pothole, the bottom side of the wheel pants would probably ground out on it. But I think the wheel well would survive this pothole. Anything bigger than this, the wheel pants probably would not survive. I think if you live someplace where you have to deal with potholes of this size regularly and you hit them regularly, number one, I'm surprised that your actual car survives that kind of abuse. But if you do, the Aptera might not be the best vehicle for you. It's going to be a lot of trauma on the wheel pants and on the in-wheel motors because the in-wheel motors are pretty heavy as well, and that's a lot of unsprung weight to hit the pothole with. And so may not, it just may not be the vehicle for you. Uh, it- Hopefully, if you see potholes this big, you're able to avoid them um, and miss them. But if you can't and you have to regularly hit potholes like this, you probably need a different kind of vehicle than an Aptera. But potholes of this size and smaller are probably okay, even with the Aptera with its wheel pants at its current 3.5 inches, as long as you don't hit them at too high of a speed, because the whole thing moves as a unit. All right, so we won't know until they actually test it. This is all theoretical, but we do know that the wheel pans do move up and down as a unit. So having a little small clearance here does not mean the wheel goes up into these wheel pants and the thing grounds out on normal pavement. That just doesn't happen. All right, now let's talk about this. This is a very common occurrence. Now, these are some pretty bad pictures. Usually, you get a bunch of slush on the trailing edge where the wheel rotates like this and throws up snow on this side. So you get a big thing here. And, most people just kick it off when they get out of their car. But if you don't, you can't have it fill the entire wheel well like this or like this. And in a car that the wheels move independently of the wheel well, this can cause a problem because this thing moves up and down within here, the suspension, and it grinds against this. And if it's the front wheel, when you try to turn it, it grinds against it and you won't be able to turn well. These things will break off and they can cause problems. And though that's a problem. And because the wheel moves up and down in the wheel well, you have to build wheel wells with lots of clearance to account for the movement. So you can get significant amounts of snow building up in here. This thing can weigh like probably 100 pounds or more even if you have it completely packed. However, if you look at the renderings of how they're designing this thing, so this was in our original video where Charles was taking us through here, you'll see that the wheel pants are big, but most of it is air, and the actual wheel well is quite small. So look at this. Okay, he's going to spin around and you're going to see the inside right there. So this is just covered up. Only this and this is a wheel well. And I didn't know I didn't look at it exactly, but I think there's only like an inch of clearance in here for the tire. There's not that much clearance. It's especially built to barely fit that thing to maximize the efficiency of this because you want to make this wheel pants as small as possible to just cover the wheels so that they can get shielded from the wind for aerodynamics because the purpose of these wheel pants are just for aerodynamics, nothing else. Um, and so even if this were to be completely filled with ice, it would be an inch or less. And because the thing moves as a unit, the wheel never moves independently of it, it wouldn't rub. You would just have a clearance of like 1 millimeter rather than 1 inch because it would just whatever small contact there was would immediately melt off as the wheel turns. And I suspect that because it's completely covered, that when you drive this car and the in-wheel motors heat up, that it might be enough to just melt the snow that builds up in there. So I don't think this is going to be a major issue. That's just my guess. We won't know until there's actual testing, but you're definitely not going to get this amount of buildup. It will be if worst case scenario, there will be a small rim of less than an inch all the way around the wheel that's perfectly conforms to the wheel that moves up and down with the wheel. That's the worst. Or what might happen is that the in-wheel motor, because it's completely surrounded and encased in that wheel well, may generate enough heat, and the heat will be trapped in there enough to melt the snow. So I don't think that's a problem. Another issue is maybe it starts melting and the whole wheel gets kind of encased in ice, like what will happen? Will it be frozen in there? Well, Olafe just looked at that possibility, and if you look at this video, this was from our video a couple years back. Here it is, the in-wheel motor completely encased in ice. It has so much torque, you can just rip the ice right off of it. And that's one of the beauties of the electric motor, is that it just has ridiculous torque at 0 RPMs. Like a gas motor or diesel motor just doesn't have that much torque right at the beginning, so it's very hard to like break out of a dead stop. But the Alafe motor has so much torque, it'll just rip the ice right off of itself. So my guess is this is not going to be much of an issue for the Aptera. This is a bigger issue. Small potholes, not a problem. Potholes of this size, probably not ideal for the Aptera. I don't know what their off-road package is going to do, but you won't be able to hit potholes that are any deeper than the clearance of the wheel well. So if the clearance of the wheel well is 3.5 inches, you can't hit anything that's deeper than 3.5 inches, or it'll ground out. The wheel pants will grind on the street. So you just have to look for yourself. What kind of potholes are you regularly hitting? Again, I lived in Illinois and Michigan and Pennsylvania for many, many years, and I never hit on potholes this big. They were there, but I could usually avoid them. And there weren't honestly that many potholes. Maybe I just have bad recollection of the thing, but most of the roads were like fairly good, and they definitely were potholes, but you could see them, you could miss them, and most of them weren't that big, and really big ones got filled in. Um, uh, but the little ones, I mean, it took them a while to fill those in. So I think this is definitely something you have to think about. If you deal with a lot of potholes of this size, maybe the Aptera is not the vehicle for you. But snow like this, I don't think this is going to be an issue. That's just my guess. We definitely know it has the torque to rip the ice off of itself. Because the wheel covers move in tandem as a single unit with the tire. You're going to have this rim that's very consistent and smooth and just forms, and it'll be a very small rim because there's just not that much space to have it. If you zoom forward again, so this is the wheel pants. Most of it is air, and this is the wheel will fit almost perfectly into this thing. There's not that much extra space for the ice to even build up in there. Okay, so I hope that cleared it up. I think for a lot of you guys, you understood that that was the case, and then a lot of you guys didn't quite understand that it moves as a unit and it wouldn't be a problem, because it's very easy to kind of associate with this and feel like this would be the wheel pant and the wheel would move within there. And then if that were the case, yeah, these would be this would be even a half-inch pothole would be terrible for the wheel pants, and this would be a major issue for the wheel pants. You would have serious problems with this. But because it moves as a unit and there's not much space in there in terms of clearance for the wheel within the wheel covers, I don't think it's going to be a big problem. All right, well, tell me what you guys think. What's your experience? Do you have like massive potholes that you're hitting every day? Um, and where do you live that you have potholes that big? Let us know in the comments. Thanks, as always, to our supporting members. Really appreciate all the new members that have joined recently, and especially the old members that have been with us a while. Really appreciate you guys. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.